What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Meran podcast. Today, my guest is Colby Stevenson. Colby is a skier from Park City, Utah. He first blew up on the scene starting with the 2014 Stept movie 10 and 2, followed by appearances in Good Company and Level 1 films. He also got great results in competitions. He shined in events like West Coast Sessions and in video content like the Slush Games. Despite some setbacks with major injuries, Colby kept going and eventually established himself as one of the top free skiers in the world. It's been incredible to see Colby evolve in the past years, not only as a top tier skier, but also as a person who shows great perseverance through the personal challenges he faced. In this episode, we went through all of Colby's 2023 season. We discussed his recent shoulder injury that happened during last fall's Stubai World Cup. We talked about the incredible season he had despite this injury, getting a podium in Stubai, winning gold at X-Games Slopestyle and bronze at X-Games Knuckle huck, winning Kings and Queens of Corbet, winning Dew Tour, and getting second at Red Bull Unrealistic. Colby was also super busy filming in between all of those competitions. He filmed for the upcoming Good Company, MSP, and TGR movies. It was really awesome talking about all of those things with Colby, and I hope you enjoy it. This episode is presented by K2 Skis. Founded over 60 years ago, K2 is a legendary brand with deep roots in free skiing. Growing up, so many of my favorite skiers were on K2, from Pep Fujas, Sean Pettit, Clayton Vila, Charlie Yeager, and so many more. And what can we say about their current team? It might just be the best one out there. You got Colby Stevenson, Carl Fosfed, Anna Siegel, Maggie Voisin, Sam Cush, Keegan Kilbride, Joanna Killy, Yuna Kangas, and many more. Not to mention, K2 continues to collaborate with outside brands and artists to keep it fresh. Some of them include Brain Dead, Sam Friedman, and The Grateful Dead. Some of my favorite pairs of skis I ever owned were K2s, like my 2006 Fugitives that helped me step up my game in the park, or my 2014 Shredditors that allowed me to enjoy some real good POW days. To me, free skiing was always about every aspect of the sport, from the parks to the streets, the backcountry, and beyond. And it's so nice to see K2 still support every side of our sport. Check out their full skis lineup at k2skis.com or at your local ski shop. Support companies who support skiing. Support K2 Skis. Shout out to the patrons on Patreon: Will Cameron, Raf Diaz, Laurent Olivier Martin, Holden Baldassi, Ryan Bruninghouse, Sam Chef, Nick Gosselin, and Wyatt Loney. Big thanks to the sponsors for this episode: K2 Skis, Planks Clothing, Decan's Restaurant, and Axis Board Shop. Let's go. Mr. Colby Stevenson, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here.
Glad to have you on. We're sitting face to face right now. It's late July, and you have something on your shoulder. What's up with your shoulder?
So I just had labrum surgery 3 weeks ago. I knew I needed to get it since November, since Stubai, first World Cup of the season. Middle of my run, it just like subluxated, doing this like switch 9 bonk.
Yeah.
And that was the last run of training before finals. It subluxated. So subluxated is when it goes out and in really quick, like in the air.
So you felt it in the air and you landed and it was back on?
Yeah, it was already back in at that point. And so I got back to the top and I was like, dude, we need to tape this up. Like it just slipped out. Like I'd forgotten that I'd injured it. Like I've injured it multiple times, but like a year before, and like I'd done PT and stuff. And so I just, it felt stable, but apparently not. And
okay, so it was kind of already loose.
Yeah, it was already loose. My labrum was torn, and I just didn't really know how bad it was torn until after that. But yeah, then so we taped it up, and I did my first finals run, and it happened again on the same bonk, the switch 9 again. And I remember landing. There was 2 more rails after that, and I was just like, I better make this one count, and like landed it, and came third at that event. And was stoked that I was able to power through, but obviously it was like, damn, like, is my season even gonna be a thing now?
Yeah.
And got home, got an MRI, and they were like, oh, well, it's not urgent, you can power through it. And I was like, word. So I just wore like a brace all year, the Sully brace.
We rarely hear about those stories. Like the most famous one to me was Wallish powering through for
Yeah,
the Sochi Olympics.
dude, with
And
no ACL.
yeah, with 4x9
Crazy.
made a super good video. I think it was called Skier's Discretion, where you could see
Yeah,
the behind the scenes, him being hurt, the physio, all of that.
for
But
sure.
I think that maybe you tell me, because you hang out, you've been in the scene for a while. How often is it that someone powers through? Because last point is, I think in a lot of professional sports, in a hockey and football, like in
Yeah,
football, they say like, "Yo, everyone's powering through." By the end of
yeah.
the season, like everyone's hurt. Like, how is it in skiing relating to that?
I think that there's almost no one out there that isn't sore on some part of their body, well, during the season or injured. Um, I know just from my experience, like in 2022, I remember going into X Games 2022, like right before the Olympics, I was like, I didn't have a single pain on my body, and I was like, this is insane. Then after X Games week, I was so sore because it was like nothing but chucking in carcass and like so much skiing, and it was only a matter of time before you start feeling it with what we do, man. Like, because like we're going so big on these jumps too to get these bigger tricks around.
Yeah,
Like the jumps aren't in slopestyle courses. Historically, the jumps aren't big enough to do these like 1620s and stuff. So we have to go big, and yeah, it's taxing on your body. And I mean, we even travel with physical therapists, and we're stretching, we're eating right, sleeping right. It's just like you can only do so much to keep up with the
yeah.
impact.
Is there a full-time physical therapist with you guys?
We do have one. Yeah, he travels to all the World Cups with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is sweet. And but for me, it's mostly just like I have him with the Theragun. He just like
Mm-hmm.
gets all my muscles. Like we can do like my whole body in like 20 minutes, opposed to like if you were just doing it by hand, it would take like an hour or at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that vibration really gets into the muscles and loosens things up. But yeah, man, this season I was powering through a lot of stuff. Like it wasn't just the shoulder either.
What
Uh,
else?
that was pretty crazy. And I had thumb surgery last summer because I fell skateboarding. I didn't skate for like 2 years, like before the Olympics, because I was just like, I've had a history of injuries from skateboarding. So then I was all hyped to skate last summer. I bought a new deck and was like skating every day for a week, and then just like caught on a crack, like a crack that I've rolled over so many times at the skate park, and it just caught me that time, and I fell forward, and I was like still recovering from broken ribs from Tom Wallish's rail jam from Steel City Showdown. So I shouldn't have really been skating, but I was just like, I'll just go cruise. Anyway, when I fell, I was like trying to stop myself from like falling on my side where my ribs were. So I kind of put my hands out, and yeah, I fell on my thumb, which I dislocated when I was like 16. And like, so it has some damage in there. But yeah, I just fell and broke my thumb, and then I had to get surgery, and that never really healed that well. So I had that, and then oh my god, December, it started snowing so much in the US early on. Like we were ripping deep pow, like November 30th. It was like, over a meter of snow, like 4 feet of pow up in Guardsman. And then, so we went out to Jackson Hole, started December, first week, up to like Mosquito Creek, where Travis Rice filmed a lot of his stuff. And, a lot of people have filmed up there in recent years. Bobby Brown filmed a lot of his stuff up there. Torin, all those boys, Henrik. But yeah, we were stepping to like, we were building jumps first week of December, stepping to like 30-foot cliffs. It was like 5 feet of pow on dirt. That was it. And I remember like stacked like two of my banger shots that you'll see in the Good Company movie. It's called Crescendo. But yeah, stacked those shots, and then we like teed up this cliff the day before. I like stepped out the lip, and we're like, oh, we better go look at it and see if there's light still, because it was in the afternoon. And I was like so written off at that point because I just seshed this jump and like took it a bunch of slams. I was so tired, got two clips, and was like, yeah, I'm done for the day. But we got back to this cliff and the light was sick. And we're like, damn, like my filmer, Justin Mayers, he helped film that trip. He's a local out there in Jackson. I was like, dude, I think this is the time. Like, you got to, like, because it looked like there was snow coming the next few days and we didn't know what it was going to be like. So anyway, I started hitting this thing. I was just trying to do a cork set, went way too big and just like exploded. And then I was like, oh, I might as well just go dub 10. Like, tried that a few times, like made a pretty big bomb hole. I didn't realize my bomb hole was going all the way to the dirt. And so on the last, I was like, all right, I'll go for one more and I'll just like try to go slower and land like up above my bomb holes where there's fresh snow. And I did exactly that. But when I landed, I was a little too far forward and just dove into my bomb hole like head first and scorpion. Like my neck went back, my back like arched. And I remember just laying there thinking I like broke my neck and my back because it was just all like, like numb and just like, oh, like I just flexed it the wrong way. So I'm laying there like, oh no. And then I laid there for like a minute and they were like, you good? I was like, just let me chill. And then I was able to get up and I was like, damn, like I'm really sore. We might as well just, take a few days off. I'm pretty sure I fractured my back, my low back, but I was too scared to go to the doctor at that point because I was felt good enough to where I could power through. But if I'd gone to the doctor, then there was fractures, I definitely would have had to take time off. And so I went back 3 days later and got the clip. I was super hyped because it snowed, it refreshed and filled all the bomb holes in. And yeah, so that was the start to my film season.
What was the diagnosis? Did you end up breaking something?
I didn't go to the doctor ever.
You never went?
I couldn't arch my back the whole season. Like I couldn't lean back. I couldn't foam roll on my lower. Dude, it was so bad, bro.
Dude, did that bring you back to some street memories?
Yeah, I mean,
just face planting on some dirt.
I got so wrecked when I used to ride street. I would always try to hit some like sketch spot and like just get wrecked like 10 times and then get the clip. And I was like, is this even worth it? Like, I'm down to hit some like mellow street, but man, I was never that good at like saving myself in the streets, Like, I feel like I'd be better off skiing without poles and like being able to, like Alex does. Like he always is like grabbing the rail. Like he's so good at saving himself. Like, that's what skaters get really good at. Like you learn how to fall, and that's like something I never really learned how to do.
And now it's time for a first sponsor break. Decans is a family-owned fast food restaurant chain with 12 locations in the Montreal region. Close to 70 years after opening their first restaurant on Montreal's Boulevard Pineuf, Decans is still focused on what matters. The same great menu with great food made with quality ingredients. I've said it, I'm a Decans super fan, and many people ask me what's my go-to. I have to say it's their famous Wally burger. A double cheeseburger with slices of pepperoni. It's so good. Decans is now selling their sauce in their restaurants and in many Metro grocery stores throughout Quebec. Plus, they've put a bunch of great recipes to go along with it on their website at decansauce.com. Also big news, their Saint-Jérôme location is reopened. Same location, brand new building. Go check them out when you pass by Saint-Jérôme. Support companies who support skiing. Support Decans restaurants.
Yeah, I think that's the main quality of the best street skiers, because you need to be able to get those bangers, right? Okay, that's step one. Step two, can you stay alive for your shot number 16 to get your full part?
Yeah, exactly. And like easing into a spot too. Like you don't need to just hit it right away. You got to just like, get a feel for it, get some run-ins, like maybe just hit a little part of it. Like I never did anything like that. I would always just go for it and just like, get wrecked or get the clip early.
I rewatched a lot of stuff from this season and, there was some slopestyle, some rail thing. You went to Alaska, I think. You did some POW. And I was like, did he do street? And then I went back a couple of years ago and I rewatched Roasted. And that's where I'm talking about. There's some bails in there. Oof.
Yeah, dude. Wrecked.
Yeah.
I got so wrecked filming for Roasted. That was so fun, though. Yeah, I really haven't skied street for like a few years now. Just because, like I said, I was never good at falling. And I just never had as much fun as I do, skiing in the backcountry and stuff. And I just see more potential for me out there. And um, I like watching my friends ski street. That's for sure.
So yeah, when you're in Park City and they go film, do you just come hang out but without your ski boots, being like, yeah, I'll help you out, but no skiing for me?
Yeah, I've been to a couple spots for sure and helped out. It's always fun watching your homie, but it's scary out there, like it's just such a high risk thing to do. And I have so much respect for people that film whole street parts and stuff. I think it's so badass. And I definitely want to hit some street. I'm not closed to getting out there some more, but definitely gonna ease into it as I get back because I've just had so many injuries, man. I'm just trying to,
Yeah. You have your quota.
I'm trying to progress, but I'm trying to prosper as well. I'm trying to like make this thing last for sure.
You've been known in the park scene, like coming up. You weren't known for like being a backcountry skier. You grew up as a park guy.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of park guys, we grow up like the typical stereotype is we watch street segments and we skip the POW segments in movies. But right now you're filming POW a lot. What's your vibe when you watch movies? Have you been that kid, or are you someone that enjoys both when watching?
I think I respected it all the same. I mean, when I was younger, like thinking back to like an AK segment when I was younger, like unless it was Seth Morrison hucking like 100-foot backflips, like it wasn't that exciting to me.
Yeah.
But now that I've been up there and like skied it myself and like rode these super steep spines and like these crazy runs, you just have a total different understanding of that terrain and a different respect for it because it's just so much gnarlier than you can imagine. Like dropping into every run I skied in Alaska is like, imagine hitting the gnarliest street spot with like super high risk drop maybe on one side. And you're like, okay, I don't fall on that side. Like, except there's like a million different spots you don't want to fall,
It's like consecutive the whole way down.
Yeah. And so it's just, and you have to remember like your line. Like you got to visualize where you're going to ski and have like these landmarks.
There's that side of things sometimes for street, like you're going blind into a drop or a certain rail and going in, you don't see it. So you kind of have your cues, but that's for one hit. Whereas your Alaska run lasts 1 minute or 30 seconds?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's comparisons to draw, but it's just like, it's a different scale. You're up in these huge mountains and,
in the streets, you might be 5 minutes from an hospital, whereas in Alaska.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple lines that I skied. Like if I fell over there, you might just die. Like it's life or death out there, like you got a huge exposure, like 100-foot cliff over there. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do a couple turns on that side, but tread lightly because if you go down that way, it's not going to be pretty.
How do you handle that mentally? Do you just like discard it a bit?
You trust what you're doing. I mean, like you trust your skills is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But most importantly, when you're up there, you're analyzing lines and you know what you're capable of, but you want to dial that back. Like you don't want to ski everything that you're capable of because the risk is just so high. So, you want to pick off those lines that have like a little bit of exposure, maybe a couple turns in the death zone, and then the rest is like, and you have your safe points too. Like, okay, if I get to there and it sloughs out, like that's a safe point when the slough's only going to go to the side, or, if it avalanches out, like you got to have those
exit strategies.
Yeah. Exit strategies. Yep. All that. And so, but I don't know if there's any really right way to do it. It's just like survival mode / send it / survival. I don't know. It's like the balance of both has to be present. Like you have to think about the worst possible scenario before you ride it. I mean, I'm sure that's what you do at a street spot too. Like that's what I would always think of. Like, okay, if I fall off that kink, I'm going to land on those concrete stairs, like on the next flight down. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Trying to see that's some stuff that happened to me this year, being like, okay, if he falls off, like where does the landing lead? Oh, over there's a lamppost. Okay, let's put some snow so if they go to the lamppost, they're not,
Yep.
Risk management.
Totally. risk management. That's what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, like in ski movies, like it's so dope that we have all these different avenues and terrain to ride, as skiers. Like the fact that we're out in the streets and we're out in the backcountry and, we're in the park and like all those kind of like mesh together is just, it's so amazing to me. And that's why I love it so much is there's always something different to go ride, and then you throw a snowmobile in there and I'm out in the backcountry and you just unlock so much terrain and there's almost nobody out there. I mean, depending on where you're at, but once you're out in the mountains, like you don't run into a ton of people. It's amazing.
And what's the adrenaline like for someone like you? There must be a lot of adrenaline going into like an Olympic run where you have a lot of pressure, and same thing in the streets that you've done.
Yeah.
How does that compare on that Alaska front with all the risk you talked about?
Yeah. I mean, the adrenaline with all those things, I would say is pretty similar. Definitely in Alaska with like the survival mode put in there, like that's the most adrenaline I've ever felt for sure. But yeah, like the Olympic slopestyle run, like you think about all the culmination of, your whole life that led you to get there. And like that kind of comes into play as you're dropping in and stuff. And, you got to just quiet that inner voice. I mean, I do anyway. I just put in some music when I'm skiing slopestyle and just get in the zone and just trust that all the work you've put in is going to be enough,
Yeah.
And it's not so much life or death in those scenarios either. Like, you know your stuff so well that you're like, you can land it all. It's just a matter if you can land it all perfectly.
Yeah.
Without any bobbles. And it's just like laser focus and no negative thoughts. And that really translates well for Alaska too. Like laser focus, no negative thoughts. But then you got to add that memory part in there of like your landmarks and stuff from like looking at a photo. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that Torin mentioned that I thought was super cool. I was drawing the same comparison. Like comp might have been useful as a mental tool to then go into the backcountry and use it. But
sure.
He was saying, I'm paraphrasing, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was something of the effect to in the comp scene, it's always the same. So it's different when you go in the backcountry, and then every freaking line is different. And there's a whole like memory side that's not the same because,
right.
A pipe is a pipe, or a slope run is a slope run. Whereas in the POW, every time it's a big trust that you have to build of your own judgment because every time it's different.
Right. And to go with that, like perspective is everything. Like you might be looking at your line from the bottom or like, from the helicopter on the way up and you're taking photos out the window, but like the cliff you're looking at, you're like, oh, that looks like a 30 footer. It could be a 50 footer, you don't know. And you don't know what the snow is going to be like on the lip, or there's all these little things you won't know until you're in it. Like you won't know all these fine details until you're on the go and like making those decisions. It's crazy.
And now it's time for another sponsor break. Axis Board Shop has been dedicated to free skiing since its inception in 2002. At a time when some people and brands were still looking down on free skiing, Axis believed in it fully. After 20 years of supporting athletes, movies, competitions, events, and so much more, Axis is still going strong. Above all, Axis is a ski shop where you'll find everything you need for skiing, snowboarding, or skateboarding. Check them out in store in Saint-Sauveur or online at axisboutique.com. Support companies who support skiing. Support Axis Board Shop.
And is there any evolution that has occurred in the last years for that type of thing? Like, do you guys use drone nowadays to go and scope it?
Funny enough, like they make these little mini drones now, the Mavic Minis. And I've never heard of anybody doing this just themselves, but like having the drone in your backpack and then like flying in and like getting a closer look at stuff. Yeah, one of our guides in Alaska was doing that. Like I'd be like, yo, can you look at this hit right here? And I'd be like showing him on my phone like a photo of like, yeah, like will you go down to that and see if that looks all good? And he would just like tell me or something. And Sammy, yeah, he has like one of the Mavic Minis too. And I think he was mentioning he uses it like when he's out in British Columbia. He'll like fly over and check out some stuff from his sled, and then like just put it back, in his bag or whatever, and then ski his line. Like it's so crazy, dude.
That must be a time saver.
Yeah, it definitely would be a big time saver.
Yeah. Instead of sledding, hiking, or I don't know what's the process, you just like, because these things have a big autonomy in terms of distance nowadays, where you can really like save yourself some struggle.
For sure. And like to have that, closer look, especially in the backcountry where you don't want any tracks in your line at all, and that's the other thing too, is like you have one shot really. Like that's the craziest part about it, actually. Like, for example, in Alaska, when it's like been storming for 3 days and we haven't skied and we're just like kind of losing our minds, like thinking about how crazy the lines are about to ski. And then you go out there, it's like 8 a.m. Like you got in a heli at like 7, but you're not going to ski your line until like 8 a.m. And yeah, you've just been inside for 3 days and you just have to nail it. Like that's when the light's good and you're just like, all right, like.
that makes me think of you guys with slopestyle, because I always had that big respect for you guys of not only lacing your run, but knowing that in between run 1 and run 2, there was an hour 15.
Yeah.
Like, to me, as a skier, there's such a big part to getting in the flow.
Yes.
Like lapping nonstop. And you guys, we see like shots at X Games and you're like sitting in your corner waiting to go back. And then you have to do
it's always the worst, man. Like getting such a flow during training. You could have the best practice of your life. Like you're just lacing every run and then you like get put on ice waiting for your run. And your mind's going to play tricks on you, man. Like you can have all the skill in the world, but it really comes down to the mental game to, stay calm and trust what you can do and not overthink everything.
Talking about that, you're someone that I think people would agree that you're one of the most consistent guys out there. And that I think is links to what we just said. Like, how do you manage to stay consistent? Do you think it's a matter of mental state or just like confidence? Because at your level, everyone's great. The person who ends up 10th is also really fucking good. And sometimes it's a matter of details, like not missing one rail.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to like choosing a run that you can do every time, but is also hard for you as well. So it's like this kind of balance between difficulty and consistency. I don't know. For example, in World Cups, I've made every final for the last couple of years, but I haven't landed my finals run in slopestyle in World Cups like only once or twice in the last 2 years, which has been, I haven't had good success in World Cups because I've maybe been trying a run that was a little harder than I needed to, or a little harder than I was capable of doing consistently. And because of that, I wasn't able to do well. And I always end up going for a run that's super challenging for me. I like a challenge. Yeah. I like to be pushing myself. Like if I'm not doing something that's challenging me, I'm probably not like pleased with myself, which can be dangerous. Like, and like right after I do something, I'm like, that wasn't even enough. It's just like this constant chase of like doing better.
Do you feel like you challenge yourself more on rails or jumps?
Probably on jumps. I mean, rails are just rails. Like they're just a lot smaller, and then jumps, like, I don't know, just spinning both ways, doing like these huge rotations and double corks and like having to grab your grabs the whole time. And I just think it's a lot more dangerous. That being said, I've only had like one major injury from a rail, and that was at Wallish's event when I landed on my ribs on the transfer.
That was so rough.
Yeah, that sucked. Yeah, broken ribs, lacerated spleen. Skied like 4 more runs because I just thought it was broken ribs. I was like, there's nothing you can do about that.
Same mentality as your back, being like, yeah, if I keep riding, it's as if it's all good.
well, I needed one more score, and I was like, I could make a few $1,000 if I just like land another trick. I just couldn't power through enough. I mean, I landed like something, but it wasn't good. I did like a right 2 press 4 on the wall. Anyway, I love rail skiing for sure, man. I mean, I got lucky growing up in Park City. We had a lot of rails, you know, like Park City in its golden era, like when 4x9 was, you know, just getting started and all those boys moved out here. We had like 3 parks. We had King's Crown, Jonesy's on the upper mountain, and where you saw those step up videos like Tim McChesney doing Rodeo 12 and all these dope rails. And then we had the pick and shovel, the lower park, 3 Kings. Yep. And that was just like, you know, paradise growing up. So, you know, Wallace taught me how to do a pretzel when I was like 8 years old. I remember in the payday park, like on the way down to King's Crown, there's like a box, and he's like showing my buddy Andy Partridge and I, who's also in Roasted, amazing skier. I mean, a lot of people know who he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like showing us how to grip a box and like change your direction of your spin. And
dude, that's gold.
Yeah, crazy to think about that, you know, because he really was, you know, the pretzel man. Like he started
Still
all
is,
that.
always will be.
Always will be, for sure.
How aware were you of him at that age?
How aware?
Yeah, like, did you know, like, were you all, you know, because some kids at 8 don't even know free skiing. They're just enjoying the mountain.
Yeah.
You were like, that's Tom Wallish, that's the pretzel man from Turbo and Refresh.
Dude, that was like the year he won Super Unknown. Like that was like the very beginning. I want to say it was the year he won Super Unknown. It was like right around then. So he like hadn't even filmed those segments yet, you know? Like it was just like the beginning. He had just moved out west, like, and it was just this, you know, 23-year-old or just slaying. And yeah, I got to watch all that. So it was
the dream.
Really dope to be able to, you know, be in a place where all my idols were riding. You know, Tanner Hall was always up shredding.
And now it's time for another sponsor break. I love Planks Clothing. I've been using their gear for 3 seasons now, and I only have great things to say. Great, stylish products that get the job done whether I'm skiing on the hill or filming street with the boys. Planks Clothing has a new streetwear drop on their website, and it's perfect for the summer season. Made from 100% organic cotton, these hoodies and t-shirts will keep you looking fresh for seasons to come. My personal favorite from the collection is the Smiley hoodie. I've been rocking it all spring and summer long. Check out the new streetwear drop at planksclothing.com. Support companies who support skiing. Support Planks Clothing.
I had some, talking about your childhood, I had some stuff that I thought was interesting to share. I went back into your stuff, and, you know, I've been watching you since you blew up, wherever that may be. And I always try to figure out, like, when did I first heard of Colby? Like, where does that go back? And the first shot I ever saw of you was in the Stept movie, in 2014.
Yeah.
Aspen shoe, dub 12 blunt. And I was like, okay, that's a nice dub 12. He's in a Stept movie. I think I need to remember that name. And indeed, we needed to remember that name. And the other one was a couple of years later at West Coast Session, where you had was it a 2-on switch up back 4 on a big down flat down rail into an S rail.
Yeah.
And I remembered you from the Step movie, and then I saw you, you know, at that point maybe you did some slush games, but I saw that shot and I was like, holy fuck, okay, he's that special. What is there any moments like this that you remember? Because I think that year at West Coast Session you won MVP or best trick, or you won both. Is there some moments that you look back around those times when you were like, okay, shit, I'm stepping up to the big leagues?
I mean, that was definitely a highlight for sure at West Coast Sessions, and, you know, one of the best weeks of skiing of my life. You had that huge jump and just so many homies just on a summer session. Like, come on, like it was slushy. The park was insane. We were all like filming these little team videos. But no, it was like the winter right before that, where I was like, I finally had a good World Cup run and I really wanted to like start podiuming and stuff. But my mindset was kind of holding me back. Like, I just wanted to win so bad that it was kind of like getting in the way of me actually just riding. but yeah, I mean, I always knew like I had the skills to do it, and I had the tricks, to match up with pretty much anyone at that time. And yeah, like crazy enough, right after that West Coast sessions when I got in that car crash and just kind of reset everything and, reset my mindset, gave me a new lease on life, and ended up being the secret to getting my mindset dialed in for competitions and stuff. And, it's not all about winning. It's not all about, making money to, pay for travel and stuff. It's just about enjoying the process and enjoying the locations we get to go, and sharing that with all your fellow riders. But yeah, man, like once I was able to get that mindset right, I mean, I had the skills, and I won my first World Cup back after that car crash, and then just had a lot of success after that too. And, injuries scattered between, but, a lot of my injuries were like over the summer, which was super lucky. And then I just I missed that 2018 Olympics, but man, West Coast sessions, crazy. It almost seems like a different life, a lifetime ago.
Yeah. It's like when I did an episode with Wallish and we talked about Super Unknown. I was like, yeah, do you realize it was 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
That's nuts. But yeah, one of my fondest memories is when I was 8 years old, I got to forerun for X-Games half pipe. Like I barely aired out. Like I just kind of went down the pipe and did like an alley-oop at the end or something. And I just remember like being in that atmosphere, and I was just like, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, and back then, like X Games, like those guys were just rock stars, in my mind, especially being a little kid. And
do you remember what year it was?
I don't, dude. Let's see. I would have been, if I was 8, it would have been in like 2005. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like Tanner Simon battling it out in the X Games half pipe. Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, I was like crowd surfing, like with my ski boots on, just like kicking people in the head by accident and shit. It was insane.
So that was that's the best motivator. Like being there, meeting Wallish, forerunning. But that never made you want to ski pipe?
I mean, I did ski pipe. I skied pipe till I was 18.
Really?
Yeah. I think I came like 7th in the last World Cup I did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At Mammoth. Yeah, I was hyped. I made a World Cup final, and I won a bunch of rev tours, in pipe. I won nationals. I used to compete against like Bo Wells. It's like Bo James, and he was super good. Is still super good, but he doesn't ski pipe anymore. But yeah, I never had dubs, dude. Like I tried to learn a dub flare when I was 13 at Copper, and like the pipe was like a little undervert, but I still thought I could get in there. And like my coach, Tim Zilla at the time, one of the founding 4x9 members, he was like, dude, you got this, bro. And it was like 8 a.m. and I just decked so hard. I tried just like, at least on the first one, I landed on my feet on the deck. And then like, I was like, dude, the pipe's way too undervert. Like I wasn't even close to going back in. I was like 3 feet out on the deck. And he was like, later, he convinced me to try it again, like a few hours later, like down lower in the pipe. Like we thought this hit was more vert. And then I just decked like with my back, bro, like my butt, and just like folded over the deck of the like edge of the pipe. It was so bad, and I never tried another dub after that, dude. That was it. I was like, screw dubs in the pipe. Like,
but at that point, you were doing dubs on jumps, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was. Yep, I had like, yeah, when I was 14, I had like dub 12 and dub 10. I think that's it. Maybe a switch dub.
Well, I'm glad you stuck to slopestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I was just way less scared of it, because after that bad experience decking, I was just like, dude, pipe is so gnarly.
Dude, like, I rode my first real big half pipe this winter in like probably 10 years, because I just didn't come across one. They're rare Pokemons now. Dude, it's so scary.
It's gnarly. Yeah, like even when I used to compete, I wouldn't train my run at all. Like I would just like, do some big straight airs, do like a flare. Yeah. And then when it was time for my run, I would just do the whole thing. And just because I was too scared to like, I couldn't get myself to do it in practice. And I needed that like pressure of the comp to just be like, all right, I'm doing all the tricks.
Yeah.
And then it was like muscle memory to some degree. And that's the other crazy thing about pipe is it's like a lot of times you're going and trying for that same run at every event. And, you know, I don't think I've ever gone for the same run in a slope style because it's like there's different rails and the jumps are different. And, you know, I might do, you know, same jump trick, a couple jump tricks in there, but it's never in the same order. And I usually try to switch up the grabs. And the rail runs are always so different. And yeah, I'm just obsessed with that side of it.
It's something that's more fun probably for you guys to, you know, spice it up a bit. But it's also something that requires you to be really good all around because if there was a time around 2010 where you could still get away with that. Like on the first rail, you do a 270 on. And whatever comp comes, that'll be a trick. But nowadays it's...
No, if you do one easy rail trick, the judge is going to be like, yep, that's like, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I was rewatching, what is it, in Stubai, you were like doing right nose butt 4 prets too. You know, when that's a slope trick, it's like, fuck.
I know, I'm so hyped I brought that into my run this year. Because like that trick's always been my hardest rail trick on that nose bud 4 and just to be dialing it in. And I was so hyped in Corbet, the Silvaplana World Cup, the last one of the year in March. I got the right nose bud 4 prets too, and then I did nose bud dub 16 on the first jump. So just having like both way nose buds.
Dude.
I want to be able to do like both way nose bud dubs, but the right one.
You're doing them lead jab also. Is it possible? Like I was seeing something special in your jab that was like, oh, that's looking good.
It is lead Japan, yeah. I just when I found out the lead Japan helps me spin a little more.
A bit like what A Hall does with his Buick, kind of the same body movement a bit.
Similar, yeah. Just like that. Yeah, exactly. Arching to the inside a bit. Buick is essentially, lead Cuban and
lead Japan.
Seatbelt.
Seatbelt, yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I think I noticed, okay, now slopestyle is stepping up to a certain level is, I think it was the year Henrik won Big Air with his nose butt triple. Yeah. Or somewhere around then. He also medaled in slopestyle, and his first trick was a nose butt 4 on Pretz 4.
Yeah.
I was like...
Was it really?
Yeah.
That's psycho.
Dude. And like stomped. Super stomped. I was like...
Was that the same year Belmar did like 3 for 3, 4 Pretz 4s on the down?
No. But that year Belmar on that same rail was doing a switch tails 4 on.
Yeah. And on the huge down rail.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was like, damn, like he's really doing it in a slope run.
So same year, Henrik podium, and he had a nose butt 4 Pretz 4, and Belmar got 4th with a run with a switch tails 4 on. I was like, okay, we're now moving on from the 270 on era.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about your season this year. I gotta say, I didn't say it up to now, but dude, congrats on one hell of a season.
Thanks, man.
You started in Stubai with a podium. Got first at X-Games, and we'll get to talk about each one because they're all interesting. First X-Games slope, 3rd knuckle huck at X-Games, 1st at Kings of Corbet, 1st at Do Tour, filmed with good company, filmed with Matchstick, 3rd at Red Bull Infinite Lines, 2nd at Red Bull Unrealistic. Dude.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Your sponsors must be happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just still at a loss for words of all of it. You know, it was like a whirlwind. I kept saying we're just in the vortex. It's like comp, film, comp, you know, just party, celebrate. Like it was crazy, dude.
But yeah, in between all those results, and I would understand most people saying, yeah, I'm going to Mexico for a week to just chill. But it seemed like you took those times to like go film in Alaska with Matchstick.
Yeah, there was literally not a moment of chilling besides 1 week actually in Park City when my body was like in pieces. Like I couldn't even hardly walk or like get out of bed. So like, okay, I better take a week off.
Is that how you are? Are you like kind of hyperactive, cannot sit down, or was there something special this season?
Dude, because it was snowed so much. Like if it's good conditions out there, like I cannot not go. Like I have to be out there, like taking advantage, like even if it's just going out and getting POW shots, like.
Or let's say there's no filmers. You're still going out there.
Oh, we're gonna go out and like shred, and if I'm too sore, we'll just like POW surf that day, snowmobile and POW surf. Like I won't even bring the skis, just go out and just vibe, and that's basically a recovery day.
Yeah.
Like any day I'm not out like taking any impacts is like a recovery day.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably a good mental health thing also, because
for sure
you're having a lot of stress with comps, and those times are like friendship times where you're just like having fun.
Totally.
Like a relaxed type of fun, maybe.
Yeah.
Different.
And like that's how backcountry skiing is like all the time. Even when we're doing these like building these big jumps and stuff, it's like it's just bonding time with your homies, like, and being out there and just feeling blessed to like have these crazy conditions and like, have this technology, have these snowmobiles out there and like, have all the avalanche safety and like it's just there's so much that goes into it, and like you just feel so grateful the whole time. Even when I'm like stepping to these big tricks, I'm like, I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And like this just feels right.
Yeah, well, it really seems that like you have, as you just said, a calling for backcountry, for booters, for we talked a bit about having cat skills of landing on your feet in the streets.
Oh,
not. It seems like you have that in the POW.
Yeah. I mean, definitely more than I have it in the street. But yeah, I often like, I get lucky and like land my trick pretty early on, usually sometimes first try, which is sweet because then there's less tracks in the landing. And
do you adapt your skiing at all between park and POW? Meaning, it seems to me as we see a lot of bail shots in POW where 99.9% of the trick is done and it looks perfect. And then the person lands and eats shit.
Yep. That's the hardest part about POW. So when you're in the middle of your trick, you have to be thinking about the landing and how strong you're going to be, especially landing switch. Whereas like in park, you don't have to think about the landing at all because it's just like smooth and it's always, the same, being groomed or whatever. And so that's what like Mac forehand was just like kind of stepping into some backcountry stuff this year and got him out to some spots. And, he's like the best jumper that I know. And, but then when it comes to landing, it's like, I was like, dude, you got to be thinking about that landing the whole time, like in the middle of the trick, like, okay, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to stomp this shit. Like, it's just a different mentality.
Like really back to basics.
Yeah. And really just thinking about like being strong. Yeah. Like you have to like almost clench your whole body when you're landing out there. And, and then there's bomb holes that you create and like landing in those and trying to like navigate that gets crazy. Like when I was filming for Level 1 Romance a couple years ago, 2019, I think.
That's the year of your incredible Switch Dub 12, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We filmed 3 days with Level 1. It was 3 jumps in 3 days. And I did that Dub 14, like over those rocks.
Yeah. With 2 grabs.
Mm-hmm.
Because why
with
not?
2 grabs. And then the next day was the Switch Dub 12. And then the next day after that was the Switch Right Dub 12. And I just remember that first day with that Dub 14 step down jump, like we'd already had our whole sesh. Like I did a Dub 10 lead jab. A bunch of other homies were hitting it, John Brown, McRae. And then there was like one little spot of landing left. And I was like, dude, I think I could do a Dub 14, but I got to like aim over by those rocks kind of. And like, I knew I was spinning left, so I'd be drifting left, but all the rest of the landing was bomb hold out. And there was like this one patch that was like 10 feet wide probably. And then on the right of it, there was a rock. So I was pretty much aiming at the rock and I knew I would drift a little to the left, but like, it was completely blind. It was like you said, it was a step down. So I was like, I stood on the lip and like skied up it a few times to look at where the rock was. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to aim at that rock and just drift a little left. Like, just like thinking back on that, like that was so stupid.
Dude, that's good self-trust.
But that was so stupid. Like, why would I ever risk something that crazy? Like if I landed on that rock, like my leg.
Stupid is pretty close to genius sometimes.
That's the crazy thing about it, dude. We're just dancing right on this fine line of crazy
Because
And
I was filming with Matt Duff some street this year, and I have a spot in mind where there was that thought, okay, I need to aim there. I know that with that trick I drift a certain way, but it wasn't a good result. It was more of a face plant.
and sometimes you got to roll the dice, man.
Yeah.
If you want to win at the casino, you gotta play.
So that dub 14 dub grab was one trick, one try on that
It was
certain.
3 tries.
Okay.
It was 3 tries, and yeah, all those 3 tries I landed in that patch.
Getting back to your comp season, we talked at the beginning about Stubai, about getting injured mid tap, which is insane, and especially like on that kind of tap, kind of off.
Yeah.
Anyways, then
That sucked.
skiing some POW,
Mm-hmm.
going into bomb holes.
Yep, tomahawking through my bomb hole.
Then you went to X Games and had a mellow weekend of 2 medals, including a gold.
Yep.
How was that going in with the back pain? That was maybe there, maybe not.
I mean, yeah, that going in with the back pain, and that wasn't it either. Like right before X Games, there was the Locks World Cup.
Okay.
And the week before that, I was sledding out back here with my roommate, and we were racing on these little like sled bobs, like the little seat with the handles on the side. Anyway, he was in front of me, like kicking up snow, and then he stood up like mid-run down this, like, because I have a tubing park like right here. I live right at Woodward, and there's like a tubing park. Anyway, I ran into him, and he fell on my head. I got concussed, bro. Like I was just like repeating myself for like 30 minutes. Like it was bad. And that was a week before the Locks World Cup. And I was just like, and that was 2 weeks before X Games. I'm like, no way, dude. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I was so stupid. And so I just kind of took it easy. It was like, oh yeah, we'll see how Locks goes. Like, I'll just kind of ease into it. And then like by the time it was like training for that event, I didn't feel any concussion symptoms anymore. But, I still had my shoulder and I had my back, and I was just kind of like, I didn't tell anybody about my back. I was keeping it hush because I was just like, and I didn't tell him about the concussion either. I was like my own doctor, man. It's like, that was not what I would tell anybody to do. But like in that scenario, and like with my history of head injuries, like I'm a pretty good gauge of, how I'm feeling and stuff. And I definitely listened to that, and I wasn't going to push it if I wasn't feeling good. But, yeah, I just recovered pretty good in that week, and eased into it in training, and then was like feeling really good. Went for that run in Locks, just missed it. It was snowing that day, and I went for my full run anyway.
Yeah, I remember watching it live. It was like a blizzard.
Yeah, it was not good at all, and I was so pissed that I didn't just like dial my run back, because I could have done really well. It's like way less of a jump run. And so I was going into X Games week like full force, like so juiced, like just hungrier than I've ever been. Like wasn't feeling my head, like just, was powering through the shoulder and everything. And, when I was wearing my brace, I didn't have to think about it. It was great. And yeah, man, just we lucked out. Like having sled laps for X Games, you just get so many laps in a row. And I remember it was second day of training for slopestyle, and we got the morning session, because the snowboarders got the morning session the first day, and we got the afternoon. And then so yeah, morning sesh, filming with hot laps, Andrew Gata, and it took us 15 runs to get my full line on film. But like, I mean, to do my whole run, which I wasn't sure I was even going to be able to do, like the second day of training, that felt good, and like I was like, damn, okay, I can do the run. Like let's get it popping.
Yeah. And then again, as you were saying, of sometimes maybe pushing it too much, you were pushing it with that.
Yeah, definitely. But the weather was perfect, and I mean the run wasn't that crazy. It was just like, I had to learn like right dub Kang, or like right dub Michael Chuck is what I was going to say, on the pipe hit, the first jump of the, I did that in 2020. I did it just a 7, but I had to learn a little 180 out of that. And then
Do you see it as a right dub cork 9 or like right dub flat 9?
Yeah, I
Kind
thought it
of
was like a right
in the middle a bit.
It's kind of like like a little mix of both, honestly.
Yeah.
And I can't get my like axis super dialed on the right side anyway.
But it's dope like that. It's super unique.
I was hyped. I was hyped to have that in there, and like, maybe I would have done a right dub 12, but I wanted to have that different axis in there, and the right dub 12 would be pretty hard for me on a pipe wall because I like to mork my right corks, but. Yeah, and then like having the switch dub right after that and having to like get the line perfect to like carve in for the switch dub on the pipe wall, and like switch dub 10. And, I had upgrades to my run that I was going to do for the final or for the comp. But then comp day ended up being really snowy at X Games too. Like almost all of our slope comps this year were bad weather, which sucked. But yeah, man, I lucked out having my run dialed, and I had like a fast line, and I did step up my rails like last second and did like my dream rail run for that line, which I was super hyped. I was able to do.
You did a transfer on the first rail, back 3 swap, back 2.
Yep.
Into switch 2 backslide to switch.
No, right 4 prets 2.
Right 4 prets 2, and then the switch 2.
And then, switch 2 backslide, and then switch right 2 backslide blind 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hyped to have like both backslides like really quick back to back, and
ABM style.
ABM style for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's who I think about, because like when he was one of the first to really like do a variety of backslides in his run.
Yeah, and he had like his little Brebby backslide and that shit too.
So what was the trick that you stepped up in there?
It was the right 4 prets 2. I'm trying to think what I was doing before. I was doing, I think I was just doing like a right 2 to switch. Yeah, and I don't know why I didn't try the right 4 sooner, but then I was like going to bed the night before our last training session, and I was like, oh, I should do that.
Good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you were saying, it wasn't the best day.
No, it was snowing. It was slow.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, people had a hard time landing their runs. Maybe I'm mistaking it for other times, and then I saw you getting to the end, and that's the classic where I would have totally respected you, like seeing a dub 12, being like, it's hard to land a run. I just did a super good run. I'm going to like just land it. Yeah. And then you go to the end, dub 16, stale. Like, holy shit. Once you land that, it's like, okay, that's a podium run right there.
Yeah, I mean, I was so hyped to land my first run. Like, it wasn't perfect, and I only did a switch right dub 9 instead of my switch right dub 12 on the third jump, just because I wanted to put a clean one down. And then Ferdy went right before me, and he actually went in first, which I didn't know, which was probably a good thing, because like I would have been like, oh shit, like I gotta like land one now, But I was like already in the start gate because I went right after him. So he went, and I heard people cheer, and I was like, oh, lit, like he landed. And I just had my music in. And then I landed that run, like pretty much a couple little bobbles in there, but got the switch right 12 and the dub 16 at the bottom. And
yeah. But I like those types of comps where the conditions aren't perfect. And again, I know that for you guys, it's not what you would choose, but
yeah,
it's there's something for us where it's like, sometimes you guys are just so good that like the difference people don't notice, but it's the difference. Whereas you did 3 different grabs, whereas the other one repeated a grab. And so there's details there. Whereas for viewers, it's really clear that you're doing hard tricks, but it's also survival mode a bit, just trying to get down.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and to just be able to have the confidence to do those tricks when the speed is just like, if you have any little bobble or any little ski, like your ski just shifts a little bit wrong, like you're not going to have speed to do these, to make the gap. And like we're doing our hardest tricks. You just have to trust that you're going to land perfect. And if you don't, you got to be able to make that call to not do it. Otherwise you end up like me in 2018 and you blow your shoulder out at Dew Tour.
Yeah. I remember watching X Games through the years with friends that are less into free skiing, and those things happen, and they're like, why didn't he hit the jump? And I'm like, oh, well, you see how it was just not perfect? Well, that's enough that he didn't have the speed.
Yep. And that takes, experience to be able to make those calls on the fly like that, because you only have like a matter of seconds to know, and you're just going off feeling, and you got to make those split second decisions to survive, man. It's all about survival out there. We got to make it through the season.
You mentioned something cool about Ferdy. How much do you personally, or you guys in general, how much do you keep up track of where everyone's at during the comp versus just like staying in your own lane and like thinking about your own run?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a balance there, and different people probably would like to know more than others. Like for me, I'm hyped if my friend, like if everyone's landing runs, that's sick. Like you always just have to focus on what you're gonna do, but it's like it's dope to be like, oh, like the vibes are high right now. Like people are landing runs. Like you definitely don't want to see anybody crashing. But like yeah, for me, for example, like if I was in first and then I got bumped to second and I was like about to go for my last run, I probably wouldn't want to see that. Whereas like some people would fuel off that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It is just like a mental strategy, and it's different for everyone. So I know for me, it's just like staying in the moment and not worrying about much and just, letting it flow.
Because at your level, you know that whatever run you put together, if you land it cleanly, it's a podium run. It's just a matter of getting it right.
Totally. Yeah. And that's a great mindset to have. And I feel very lucky to be able to compete at a level where I feel like I can podium and do well, and so if you can just trust that and let all the other outside factors kind of dissipate, that's when you're going to ski your best. And yeah, I don't know. And then there's people like Shaun White, they go out there and like, I have to win. And then they win, it's pretty, it's a little different, but it's the same end result. You just have to find out what works for you.
Yeah. It made me think of that with what you said with Ferdy mixed in with what we discussed about having an hour to sit down in between runs.
Yeah.
Which is like, that must be playing game because you got to focus on yourself. You're the one that's going to do your run, but also there's the television showing everything right beside you.
Yeah, and like I'll like watch a run and then I'll like look away for the score or some shit.
Really?
Depending on the event. Like sometimes I'm like way more chill than that and like not stressing. But if I'm stressing, like yeah. You want to set yourself up mentally for the best outcome of your skiing,
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's dope. I'm like, even if I don't do well, I'm just hyped to be there. And like, that took a long time for me, being as competitive as I am, to take a loss and be hyped with how I rode. And like, instead of looking back on it, like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like, no, like I did everything I possibly could. And it just, it wasn't the right time. And that coming to that realization has brought me a lot more joy, and like, and then I can actually celebrate my homies more too, like I'm not like, jealous 18-year-old that wish he was on the podium. I'm more just like part of the community, and we're all just like lifting each other up and taking that mentality into the next event, like just hyped to show my stuff and watch the other homies and see what they got, And like we're all just like pushing the sport in our own ways at every different event. And like I'm the most stoked with my riding in the last couple of years because I've just like steadily learned tricks. And like if I can just add like one new trick into every comp, like, or like just even a little variation, or like add a little rails trick, or do a trick that challenged me the month before or the year before, and I'm just like, that's part of my run now. Like that's what brings me the most joy. And then like seeing homies do tricks that I can't do, I'm like so hyped, like to just see how good people are at specific things, and that's what makes it so dope.
Well said. Do you have a trick in mind right now that's your next thing that you're hoping to add to slope?
I mean, coming into this next season, I have a little different strategy because like I'm missing some summer skiing. I'm missing like some airbag camps where, you know, we normally learn our new big jump tricks.
Yeah.
And, you know, with my tricks from last season, I think I can still stack up pretty good. Definitely have some things in mind, and like I'm hoping I can, you know, bring to the table. But you know, I'm a slopestyle skier, man. Like it's about the whole art of it. It's not just like these one tricks. So if I can just like take the tricks I already have and like, you know, make it the most beautiful combination of them down like the course I can, like that's what I want to do, you know. And like even if it doesn't win, it's like that's the run I want to do. So I'm kind of taking that into this next season, and it's like there's no Olympic qualifiers. It's, you know, I'm trying to film another segment next year. You know, maybe a personal project, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I'm going to be 6 months out of shoulder surgery in January. So my first events back will be locks and X Games. So I'm, you know, got my sights set on that. And I'm just going to do a lot of visualizing of the tricks I already have, maybe add a couple in there. But, you know, I won't add anything big until I can go hit an airbag, which sucks to say. I mean, I grew up without airbags and learning tricks, you know, just on jumps. That's how we did it. You know, that dub 12 blunt that you saw in 10 and 2 when I was 16. Yeah, that was my first one ever right there.
Really?
Boom. First dub 12 blunt, just capped it. I was so hyped. Yeah, I was so hyped. It was finally like this huge jump, and I was like, all right, there's enough air time to do it.
You're with the big dogs, you're with Stept, you're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, ABM was going psycho that session. Schlopey was there doing like dub 16 tweak mute. Like we were all just, yeah, ABM was doing the craziest shit that session, dude. Like switched up bio 14s, like no one was doing that. And like he was doing like trip 12, and like also no one was doing that at that time. And it was just so crazy to be a part of that session. But yeah, man, that's the funnest part about it. It's like at any level of the sport is like, it's fun. You're progressing, like, and you're watching other homies do crazy stuff. You're like, oh, like, what if I, like, how does he do that? Like, I could never do that. And then, you know, a few years down the road, you work for it, and sure enough, maybe you can.
One trick like that I saw you do that made me go exactly like what you just said is you had a shot in you had early season shot in Saas-Fee where you did a dub rodeo 12 mute with like a super unique axis, like rodeo 7 to rodeo 5.
Yeah,
dude, that, oh my god, dude,
that shit was,
I don't think I've ever seen that kind of axis, or maybe it was with the mute that did it, but
that's a new one for sure. That's one of the scariest dubs I've done because it's completely blind. Like you're just like looking at the sky the whole time, it feels like, and then you come out and you're like sideways and like trying to stop your spin. Like I don't know if you've ever done a rodeo 5, but like when you learn a rodeo 5, like the way it comes around is so awkward, and especially when you're learning it unnatural. Like even now, like unnatural road 5 when you're coming around is like, whoa, like you're like so off axis as you're coming into landing. Like you feel like you're gonna eat shit, but then you just put it down. And yeah, that's what that trick felt like. And yeah, that's one I really want to bring into slopestyle. Like I learned that trick. It was in Stubai in the Prime Park session on that huge jump is when I learned it, and I didn't do it the rest of the season just because I started adding my nosebud 16 into slope runs. But yeah, having that other axis would be dope. And I hope that people can start pushing the sport more in that direction and like doing new axes. And I mean, it is happening, and you know, all the rewind tricks coming in, and I think it's dope to have, you know, not these future spins taking over. Because like at what point, like, are we just going to be doing like 318s or like what, you know, where are we headed if we don't start pushing these other unique axes and stuff?
Yeah.
And I hope they get rewarded for what they are, you know, and I think they will. Like that 12 is like way harder than any of the 16s I've done, you know, and you know, you'd have to like do it to know it though. That's the problem. And like, that's why it's hard to score these tricks, is like nobody knows how hard they are until you actually do it.
And sometimes it's, you know, you're all underneath the paved criterias like progression, amplitude, variety, execution, difficulty,
Right.
then it's all a matter of like where do things fit in. A big thing we had debates with friends I was judging with this winter is Matej at I think the big air comp at the beginning of the season. He was doing a trick. I don't remember the trick. The trick is not important. It's just he was landing sideways and like Tokyo drifting on his tails to switch, and then it's like, where does that fit in? Like personally, outside of the scope of judging, I see that and I'm hyped. That's sick. But then, how do you judge that? How do you assess that inside the the actual paved thing?
Yeah, totally.
Like, what were your thoughts on that, Tricks? Aside from judging, like when you see,
I thought it was sick. I mean, we need people like to push that side of the sport, like the sport. We need people to do unique things, and like you might not get scored right away, but that's how you start a movement. That's how you like make a statement, and it's so dope that Matej was doing that, and I'm pretty sure he got a good score for it. He did it a couple times. The switch trip 1260, but over rotate to 90 degrees more than that. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's so hard to judge. Like our sport's hard enough to judge without doing landing sideways and doing crazy shit like that.
Exactly.
Like we've talked a lot about how the judges don't really have enough time to like analyze the runs properly before they spit a score out. So, like Ghibli was super dope this year, how they made a highlight video and then you watch that the night before and then you vote and you get to see, what everyone did. And it's not like this rushed score that you're putting out. And
yeah, I judged a bunch of smaller comps this season, and yeah, I got better and better at, that's the part. It's not only judging, it's doing it in a short span because you need to keep the ball rolling. And a couple times I was with guys who did big comps and I was like, oh, that was quick. And they're like, dude, that was super long. Because in big comps, they have way more constraints of, let's say in small comps, we can take 2 minutes if we want.
Yeah.
In big comps, it's like, no, we have to do it in 20 seconds.
There's a TV schedule and it's like, we got to be quick.
And so there's that added that maybe people forget. And when you're from the outside, like 30 seconds can seem long, but when you're 6 people discussing and there's debates to be had, dude, that's short.
Totally.
I got so much respect for them by doing it this year. It's a hard job.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one thing if there's like a clear winner, but what about, if 5 of the best guys land all their runs perfect? Like how the hell? It's so subjective at that point. And
I was seeing the runs from the World Championships this year.
Yeah.
And it seemed like everyone landed bangers because I was seeing someone on Instagram post like they ended up 8th. And I was like, dude, how is that an 8th place run?
Right. And I mean, yeah, I remember Hunter Henderson specifically landed like an insane run and got kind of screwed. But yeah, I mean, like you get screwed sometimes. Sometimes they hook you up. It's like, that's the craziest part about our sport. And that's what's tough about competing, dude. It's like, you could be this young dude, and the judges don't really know your name, and you put down the best run, and if they knew who you were, you'd probably get 5 points higher or whatever. It's just like, but that's not always the case. But I've seen that in the past for sure, and it's definitely gotten a lot better. And they're doing really good though. It's such a hard job. I can't even imagine. And we're really grateful to have those guys. I mean, they don't really get paid enough. That's another thing too. Is like, if we want them,
dude, the pay is close to nothing.
The pay is not enough to like sustain life. So they have to like work other jobs and shit. And if we want them to take it more seriously and put more time into it, you got to pay them more. It's like, yeah. Alex Hall is starting a great debate right now with FIS. So last year alone, FIS gave out $11 million in prize money to the Alpine racers, and they gave out $600,000 for park, pipe, and big air. So there's a huge gap there, and obviously there's a lot more races, and we just need to get the percentage closer to equal. Number of skiers in each one, and we only have like 7 World Cups, like I think, for slopestyle, and they've got like 20 something races with 4 different disciplines in each one, or whatever it is.
So would the goal be to have more comps or more cash
No, I think
prize,
just
or
more
both?
prize money. I think just like more prize money. We're getting paid next to nothing compared to them, and they pay out to 30th place. We pay out to 10th, and I think 10th gets like a few $100.
Yeah, which doesn't even cover a part of the blink ticket. It's like
No, and like the only way to break even on a World Cup like is if you podium. Like if you get third, I think you like break even on the trip. But and like that just doesn't. It's not sustainable. It's not going to keep people doing our sport. It's not going to allow this like wave of athletes to come in and get to the world like winning level.
Because it's also the choice of competing full time on the World Cup also has its downside, where you're not spending time doing edits or movies.
Right.
That could help you get sponsors, that would help you get money. Sometimes,
Totally.
Guys like you and Alex have you're special and you do it, and that's why you are who you are. But there's a lot of people who kind of are stuck on trying to make a name for themselves on the World Cup, only doing that. So
totally.
Not this. Anyways,
So that's why we're trying to get like more equal to racing, because some of these race guys that have never podiumed are making like 40,000 a year just because they're like stacking up in the top 15 and every comp, whatever. I mean, it's hard to compare it to racing, but like if it does suck that it's all FIS and then the pay is so different. And
I'd be curious, because I'm sure racing is a much bigger business than free skiing, just in terms of sales worldwide. But I'd be curious into what amount exactly.
Yeah, totally. And like they have these big TV rights for the racers and stuff, and that's why they get a lot of viewers. They have a lot of people that want to watch it, first of all, so they have all these TV rights, but we don't have that. Like if we could get more TV rights, we'd have more fan base.
Yeah, it's always a
fan base. It's just
Anyway, in French, la poule ou l'œuf. Do you have that also in English? The roost or the egg?
The rooster or the egg?
Well, like which one comes first? How do you get viewers if you don't have TV showing? How do you?
Right.
But you don't have a TV showing because you don't have viewers. But like,
yeah, totally. And no, I'm proud, really proud. Alex is like putting his foot down and like writing up some stuff and gonna start the conversation.
Yeah, you need those big guys to do it, because it's not as if the guy who's 40th in the world is in a position to like have leverage there.
Totally. That's what's so magic about filming too, is like you create something that is totally your own and there's no one judging it. It's like,
well, everyone is, but also it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like you love it, you hate it, you hate it. Yeah.
That's kind of
at the end of the day, it's like, are you stoked on the product you're doing? Are you happy to share it? That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Totally. And that's the beauty of it. And
because on the same movie, you'll get someone saying like, "Oh, I love this song," and then someone saying, "I hate this song." So it's like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, do you enjoy it? That's it. That's all.
So yeah, we talked about X Games, and then Mammoth was the next week, like right after, and I like missed one grab in my finals run, like switch right 14. I like was like my hand was touching my ski, but it wasn't over the edge. It was like on the top sheet. And they like replayed it like 10 times and they were like, you didn't grab it. And I totally thought it was going to count because my hand was on the ski.
Yeah.
Everything else in the run was perfect.
And you talked to judges, and that
I talked to them after, and they were like, yeah, we watched it in slow-mo like fucking 10 times. And I was like, no way.
I didn't know they could do replay.
Yeah. They didn't used to be able to do that. They didn't used to get slow-mo replay. They used to just get the first impression, and that was it.
But I guess with the level of detail you're at, that's a good thing also.
No, it's a great thing. Like, you got to be grabbing your grabs. And so then I was hungry going into Corbett's was that next week. And I don't know, I was just not that hungry, actually. I was just kind of like in survival mode because that was a crazy contest.
Dude, tell me about that. Because I'm not the biggest POW fan. Not that I hate it. It's just, I'm more looking forward to street stuff, park
For
stuff.
sure. For
But
sure.
I know Corbett. I know it's legendary. I've seen the shots.
Yeah.
It's, they're doing a comp there year after year because it's unique, it's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do it in the past, or was it your first time?
No, I never did it in the past, and I never really wanted to. Just after watching videos, it looked,
Too gnarly.
a lot of impact. I don't know. It's just not. And if the conditions aren't good, like you definitely don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. And so, what was what made you say yes?
Funny enough, when I was on that film trip in December in Jackson, we were at dinner, Teton Thai, and one of the organizers, the event organizers, was there and was like, "Yo, like," I was like, "Nice to meet you, Patrick." He said, "Yeah, like, what are the odds you come to Kings and Queens?" And I was like, "Oh, like, 69% chance." No, I was just kind of messing around, and he was like, "Well, I'll buy all your guys dinner right now if you say you'll come." And I was like, "All right, like, I'll say I'll come, but like." And he's like, "You can come, and like if the conditions aren't good, you don't even have to do it. You can get a free hotel for the week." Like he buttered it up real nice, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty good," because then we could just come out and film too. I knew we were going to bring the sleds out, so I totally was not planning on doing it. Like I would not have vouched to go do that because I knew it would be more valuable to be in the backcountry, or I thought it would be more valuable to like save myself for filming.
Get some shots.
Anyway, yeah, my roommate grabbed my truck and my sled and drove it out to Jackson. I flew in straight from Mammoth. So yeah, I had my POW skis and everything in the truck, and we got lucky with conditions. And first day of the weather window, we did the comp. So I showed up like a day late, missed the like the drawing of who dropped in. I dropped like at the end because someone drew for me, and I just got unlucky. I was dropping 23rd out of 25. Yeah. And I was so bummed about that because like it was fresh POW. And obviously the earlier you go, the softer the landing. Um, but then it ended up being good that I dropped late because I got to watch everybody go. And like a lot of people were going way too big and just like exploding, like tomahawking. And I just kind of sat there. I was going to do a switch dub, like first hit. But then I was like, I should probably just do a switch 5 and like just put out a clean run. And then I'll go for the switch dub. And that's exactly what I did. Yeah, I just did like switch 5 and then like backflip in the middle and dub 10 at the bottom. And it felt good to land one. And I was hyped, but like I knew I was there to do the switch dub. So I got up there and not a lot of people were landing, dude. I swear, like I saw the least amount of landed runs this year than I did any of the other years, like when I watched on video. But I don't know what it was. Like people were just going bigger than normal and just couldn't take the impact. And anyway, when I went for the switch dub, it was so scary, but I like landed on my feet and then just like tipped over right away. So I just like feet slam and then I was like, and I was so mad, bro. I got to the bottom and I was like, like I was pretty sure someone was going to go after me and like land some crazy shit. But I was just like, I need to get up there and like do the switch dub again. Like, those 2 minutes right after, anytime you're trying something crazy, like you want to get back up there and do it. And then you get back to the top and you're like, oh man, like this is crazy again.
Do I really want
that like confidence you have like right after you rode the line, like maybe right after a slow style run or like right after you hit like a street spot, you're like, oh, I got to get up there right now. Like I got this, you have that like boost of confidence. But anyway, yeah, I didn't get to go for a third time, but the first run ended up being enough, man. And we didn't know for like a few days, like who had won because it's rider voted and they had to like make the video. And we all like went to the movie theater and watched everyone's runs like 2 times over, which was crazy. And then you like vote or you like score them out of 10 each rider.
Yeah.
But No, it was crazy, dude. And
Damn, so that's out of the ordinary for you. Usually it's on the spot.
yeah, I mean, that was my first like free ride comp, I guess.
Yeah.
I knew I always thought I was going to do like freeride world tour and stuff when I was younger. I was like, that was definitely my goal, like after, seeing what Candide did and Tanner, getting in the freeride world tour, stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to, branch into that.
Is that in some of your goals for later on?
It was. And, the more I look at it, the tour and like the direction it's gone, it's not really it's not in my sights anymore as much, just because it's getting so gnarly out there, and like kids are just hucking their lives away is what I see. Like, it was really dope watching Finn Billis this year, bring some style, like some park background. He's doing like court 5 in the middle of his run, like, which was super dope. And I fuck with that a lot, but I don't know, man. I just like, I'm getting older, and I see where I can excel in the backcountry, and I don't know if it's in the Freeride World Tour, but it would be super dope to drop in and do like one of the nice stops with good conditions. But that's the thing, is like, I don't want to ski in crap conditions and huck cliffs onto gnarly, like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing with filming. You choose your line, you choose the good snow, whereas the other one is like, today's the comp day.
Yeah,
enjoy.
Exactly. Yep. And so I think I've steered away from that idea, but we'll see. It's still not totally out of the question, but
well, in between slope and rail jams and Alaska, you have time for a free ride.
Yeah, that'd be nuts. But anyway, after Corbet's, we just chilled in Jackson. My sled we stayed with my buddy Dave Armstrong. He has this insane house out there, and we just filmed. Blake Wilson was with us. He's on Faction. We filmed out in Mosquito, and we got really good conditions. It kept filling in. TGR hit me up. Kai Jones was one night was just like, "Yo, dude, like, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I was like, "Filming, like skiing." He's like, "Word, we got a couple jumps built up in Mosquito. If you want to come hit them with us, like, I don't have anybody to ski with." And I was like, "Okay." We get up there.
That's the dream.
Yeah. We get up there. Like, there was a jump like half built. We like built this other jump. Ended up building it way too big, and I guineaed it. I cased this, like, it was easily over 100-foot gap, and I just like landed flat on this wall. I'm in the air, just like, oh shit! I just like cat twisted to my side, so I took the impact on my whole body instead of my legs. Like, I would have broke my legs if I took it to my feet.
How you're talking about it, I have a Tanner image in mind.
Yeah, no, I have the whole, like, there's videos of it. You'll see it for sure in the TGR movie, and probably, I don't know if we'll put it in the Good Company movie, but yeah, I also filmed a TGR, which is crazy.
Good Company, TGR, MSP.
Yeah, got Seggies all around. But we had an insane day after that, skiing these really steep spines that don't normally fill in. We've looked at them the years I've gone there, and they never looked that good. And this year they just like filled in, and they just had all these flutes, like these perfect spines coming down, and it's pretty much straight down. Like, you're basically free falling as you're riding them and trying to like slow down. And but yeah, that morning I skied like 3 runs on those spines, and to be up there with Kai, who is, I think he's 15 or he just turned 16 or something, and he'd been in that zone a bunch and just was skiing it with such confidence. And I'm like, dude, this is so gnarly. Like, there's trees everywhere, like so high risk. Like, if you fall in the middle of these spines, like, you're leaving in a helicopter for sure. Like, so crazy. He ended up breaking his leg in that zone later in the year. Crazy enough. But he's healing up real good, and he's got a great mentality. He's going to be back, no problem. But yeah, a lot of respect for that kid and how he moves in the mountains. It's pretty dope to see someone that young have that much experience and confidence. But man, it's gnarly out there. Anyway, one of the runs I skied, I submitted for the GoPro $1 Million Challenge, and I won. I got in that video, which was sick this year. I kept it kind of hush because I didn't want people to see my line, as I wanted to see on the big screen. not really in the highlight video for GoPro, but I submitted it anyway because I thought I had a good chance. And
So they pay out $1 million?
no, so they pay out $1 million. It's an equal split to every person that made it in the video. So there was 60 people in the video, and we all got 18,000. So get this, day of Jesper Chader's Rail Jam, Unrealistic.
Yeah.
That's when I found it. That's when they dropped the video, and I was like, "Oh my god, I made this video! Like, I already won! Like, let's go!"
You need to post that on Instagram whenever and put a milli from Lil Wayne.
Oh yeah, $1 million, and then post like GoPro $1 million challenge. That'd be funny.
That's sick though, because with what you do, you have like probably 20 shots to choose from, anyways, to participate. Like you already do things that are worth.
I know, and I was hyped because it was like it was the scariest line I skied all year besides Alaska, and I was like just hyped that I got something for it, and it was like I'd already filmed it. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, you definitely just want to pick the one with the best light and craziest. But
you mentioned it quickly. You went to Unrealistic, but there was also Do Tour that you won.
Yeah,
and I think that was a cool subject that I wanted to touch on with you because both were kind of slope style, but only rails. And I thought that was a super cool new concept. It's not that new, but it's cool to be different, and it allowed people like Tucker Fitzsimons to be in there that, he's not going to be in Stubai doing dub 16. So it's kind of ways to showcase rail guys and to also make it different for guys like you.
For sure.
You and A-Hall, who also do real slope style, quote unquote. First question, there was world champs at the same time. What made you
tour?
Yeah, what made you say, I'm not going to Georgia, I'm staying in Colorado?
We just decided not to go because it was taking away from a lot of filming. So the main problem with that trip was it was like a 3-week trip to Georgia because Big Air was at the beginning and slopestyle was at the end. So you had to like stay through the whole length of the event. And I think they did that because they wanted people to be there for opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies or whatever. And I think they did all that. But that in itself was enough for Alex and I to be like, we kind of want to focus on filming this year.
And you both got your, Alex won the Olympics, you got second. It's not as if you were needing those fist
right.
results.
And it's like, exactly. It wasn't like the most important thing to us at that time. And I was really glad I didn't go because that's when I filmed all that stuff in Jackson and then went to Do Tour instead, which was dope. I thought it was going to be a slope style at first. And then they were like, oh no, it's a super street style, which ended up being really fun. It was just like a glorified rail jam.
Yeah.
Which like, I miss rail jams, dude. Like growing up doing all those, like there used to be so many. And it's, it's just such a fun thing to do. You hike, you watch everyone, like everyone's pushing themselves. It gets kind of crazy. It gets gnarly.
I never saw a rail jam. In Do Tour, there was 4 consecutive rails, right?
Yep.
I never saw that much. It's a real run.
It was really like slope style oriented, which, catered to my style of riding, obviously.
How was it, the whole experience? Because it was a rail slope style, which is unusual. Then it was also a weird format where there was head-to-head, multiple head-to-heads. Like you maybe had 3 or 4 rounds total.
The format was crazy, actually. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. It was like, the first round was a seeding round.
Yeah, 4 skiers, and then the top 2 went on.
And then the bottom 2 got matched against the other top 2 for the head-to-head round. So it was like you had a chance to. There was some strategy involved too. I was like, do I want to who do I want to match up against? I didn't want to match up against Alex in the head-to-head round. I was like, dude, that would be tough.
And also I said rail slope style. I said unusual format, but it's also many options. Well, as in any slope style, but you had some more classic options and some more tech, maybe some transfers. So it's like,
Yeah.
do you go for the tech rail? Do you go for the transfer?
I mean, you go with whatever is hard.
Whatever you're feeling.
That you can feel, yeah, like that you like it, but it's like the harder line. I mean, like that's why I was hitting the waterfall rail. Like I hate waterfall rails typically because like my neck, I feel like I just like, you know what
Dude,
I mean?
I'm
I've
on
got
the
a bad
same thing.
Yeah, I've got a bad neck from after my car accident. So like typically waterfall rails I used to go away from, but I knew that it would be one of those. Like it was the only top rail that was. I was doing switch right to Pretz 4 on that, and I was super hyped that I was able to do it consistently. I think I did it in all my runs for the final. But yeah, it was so cool having that different format and having a head-to-head round, and then having like the final round be 2 runs, best run counts kind of thing. It just was fun that way, and I think going down the road, like we're gonna have full slopestyle events that are head-to-head and stuff like that, and just changing that up brings a whole lot of new flavor into the comp scene, and it could allow different people to do better. Maybe someone that didn't do well in previous formats like would have a better chance doing in the head-to-head round, or not everyone can land their run when you have one shot. And like I think that'd be sick because it would show who was consistent or who would strategize the proper way to have the difficult run or the more consistent run. It's like
and I feel like maybe it's different nowadays, but for a while it felt like a lot of big air skiers were people that were really good in jumps, maybe less in rails, so we're not really having result in slopestyle, so they had their chance in big air.
Yeah.
But it seems like that format could be that way for the other guys that are great at rails but less good at jumps.
Yeah.
Do you think that format of like a rail slopestyle could have some future?
I definitely think it could, and it'd be sick if there was like a team event where it was like the rail slope style, and then it was like a big air skier, and then you got this whole slope style course, and then like you combine, I don't know. I mean, Dutour's done that with like the team, the different ski brand teams, before, which is sick. And I just like changing things up, and I hope we do more of that. Change the format. It's important because then things don't get stagnant, and there's always like you look at natural selection and like what Travis Rice did with that format and that kind of competition, having a freeride event with a head-to-head format, and it works so well that way and it's dope. You get 2 runs to try to get your best score for each round, and man, yeah, that's what ultimately I want to do, is like a freeride comp like that. And if hopefully someday I can have the resources to host an event like that, that'd be definitely a dream of mine.
Must be so much money involved to actually put that together logistically.
Crazy amount of money, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they got helicopters, they got snowmobiles, they got drones out there. They're way in the backcountry, like, and to get all those people and
make sure it's safe and all that. Yeah.
Dude, it's a logistical nightmare. Yeah, totally. But if you could figure out a way to do it.
It's even crazy that he actually managed to make it happen.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, millions of dollars probably.
Yeah. So then it's like, it better be seen on the internet.
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, brands have the money to spend. It's just like, yeah, and if you don't get those views, they're not going to want to keep doing it because it's like, what,
Another event I was stoked to have your thoughts on is Unrealistic.
Yeah.
Fucking Jesper bringing his craziness to life, looked like an insane comp, and also with the GOAT Andreas winning,
dude,
10 years after retiring.
That was so crazy, bro, to be a part of.
Again, I'm gonna put some bit of context. So, crazy rail features designed by Jesper. It's a rail slope style run again, a bit like Dutour.
Yeah.
But there's the first rails were rainbows. I feel like first half was mellow rails to kind of ease into it, like rails where there's no question that you get to the end. But then the last 2-3 rails are actually challenge rails that it's not even, you're used to ride at 4-on pretz too. But for those, it's more like, can you get to the end?
Totally.
Super long S rails, super long triple X rails.
Yeah.
The biggest rainbow rail I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, it was insane. I came straight from Alaska to that trip. Like I hadn't slid a rail in like 3 weeks or something, or a month. And I remember getting there and I was like, I was terrified to even hit any of the rails. I was just like, this is so crazy. Like everyone else was scared too. Like the first time you hit that rainbow and you go up there, I mean, yeah, it was like 15, 20 feet from the snow. But if you looked further down to the bottom of the tranny, it was like 30 or 40 feet, like all the way down there. And yeah, it was like grinding a rainbow rail on top of a small building is what it felt like. But then, yeah, we had those like couple days where we just hiked and like started getting used to the stuff, and and you just feed off everyone's energy. Like all the best rail skiers were there, and man, it was so cool to be a part of. And yeah, all the rails slid really well, which was a confidence booster. Like having sticky rails is pretty scary. But yeah, they all slid really well, and Jesper was doing crazy stuff the whole time, which would like motivate you. Oh, he can do that. I can do like half that. Like I can like, step to my trick on this S rail if he's doing a flip onto that one. But no, man, it was great because we got so much time riding the course, and riding the public park. Like the lap that you do, if you ride the lift, you like ride the whole main park in Aura all the way down, and then at the bottom where the rail unrailistic was, it's where they did the JOI. It's where the Unos Invitational was, like right in that same corral where they had the huge jump. And so it was kind of nostalgic being there.
Did you get to do it?
I didn't do JOI, never. No, I was a little too young and not quite good enough to be involved. But yeah, just like to be there and like imagine what it had been like back during JOI. I was like, damn, like I wish Yoon would come back and host another event there. And it's sick that Jesper's kind of picking up, the torch and keeping it going.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to go back there for that. But yeah, with my skiing in general there, like I was so like sore from Alaska. Like I took a crazy tomahawk like a few days before being there and like messed my shoulder up a bit. So I literally just went there and I was like, I'm just coming to vibe and, be part of it. And like didn't really train many tricks and was just like, partying a bit, kind of celebrating the season. The fact that I just like made it to that point, in one piece was crazy. I was super hyped and just like, yeah, all the people we ride with are my best friends. Everyone's so fun to be around. And we were in Aura during Aura sessions, which is like a huge festival for Sweden. All these people fly from all around Sweden and Norway and come to this festival, and we were just at the beginning of that. And I was just on a spring ski vacation, just loving grinding some rails, and just happened to pull together this run for the final. And yeah, just came second place. I was so surprised. Like I had no idea that my run was going to do that. And it was cool with the way they scored it too, because I want to say there was like 6 features. I think you could hit like 7 or 8, but you were only scored, like they were cut into sections, and you were scored on 3 sections out of like 5 sections, I think. So you were able to land a couple tricks, and if you fell on a section, like it didn't matter. Like as long as you had 3 sections of scores adding up, like that's all that mattered. And I thought that was super cool. I even did like 2 reverts in my run. Like they said, reverts didn't matter because it was like section to section. So I was like, all right, I'll just do some reverts. Like, why not?
For all those comps where you can't.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, screw it. I'll just do my favorite tricks, and yeah, that'll be that. And, I didn't try the back swap, front swap pretz too on the rainbow until it was my run. I was like terrified coming into that thing. and it just worked so well. I mean, it's not that crazy of a trick, but just on a feature that big, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, you don't want to nut yourself on that.
No, you don't. And yeah, on my last run, I like greased the S rail, did a blind 4, kind of like did a blind 360, landed a little sideways and like almost caught an edge and like, but still landed it. And then, yeah, I just couldn't believe it, man. It was so fun to be a part of it. And then Andreas coming down at the end, like landing every trick perfect, like down the whole run. It was just like, what a dude.
How was it seeing him ski and skiing with him? Because you're young enough that you've never competed with him.
Yeah.
But you're old enough that you know who he was. You know
for sure. I mean, yeah, I've always known that he was like the best rail skier on the planet, for sure. Like no one's done the combinations that he's done. Like it's, he had that backyard park and all those videos he used to make with like Oystein and stuff. What were they called again? They were the
TGP.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. TGP. And yeah, I mean, all week he was like training heavy. Like he was there to, kill it. And he had his wife there and his kid and the other 3 kids at home. I'm pretty sure he has 4 boys. Yeah. But he has so much energy, and he definitely trained the hardest out of anyone. He was doing crazy tricks the whole time, and like
probably was hyped to get back on comps because he retired young. Like he stopped at a point where he could have kept going for years.
I mean, no one could have landed the combination of tricks he did besides him, I think, on that setup. Like it was insane. Like
yeah, right before the big rainbow, it was kind of a C rail.
Yeah.
And people were having a hard time with it, and he just did a front swap back 2, like easy peasy.
Different breed, that guy. And I'm so glad that he was able to be a part of the contest and show that he still got it. And it doesn't matter what age you are. It's like, it's all mental, and it's all, if you love something enough, you're going to be able to make it happen at any age, I think.
That's such a dope thing to see with that generation, and the ones that will come up is like, they all got to such a good rail skill level or level in general, that I remember, the oldest for a while in movies was Mike Douglas.
Yeah.
And his goal was like, I'll do a cork 7 when I'm 40. And that was sick. But like, I feel like nowadays it'll be Wallish being like, okay, I'll do a triple 14 and I'm 40. I think he's going to get it.
No, he's always been claiming like the dub 10. I think it's 50 or 60. He's claiming dub 10.
And I'm sure he's going to get it.
I'm sure he will. I'm going to hold him to it for sure.
Just like skateboarding as that nowadays with people.
Yeah. I mean, Tony, did you see Tony Hawk came back and competed at the X Games just last week? Yeah.
I'll hold his easy, like 55.
Yeah. Insane. And after he had that like crazy injury, like broke his hip and like, or femur, I don't even know. He got messed up like a year or 2 ago. And he's just like, you can't keep a good man down, dude.
I feel like that's going to be your vibe.
It's totally passion. And it's like, we'll see how far I take it. I mean, I don't plan on stopping ever. So I'm excited about that. But I do have a lot of other, things I love to do that take up a lot of other time as well. Like, I like to surf, bike, golf, skate a little bit. I don't really progress my skating anymore, but I mean, those 2 weeks in Sweden were the perfect end of the season. Like the icing on the cake,
Unrealistic followed by Kimbo.
Yeah. Straight to Kimbo Sesh, and such an insane week at Kimbo Sessions. Like the level of riding was definitely the highest I've ever seen. And from everyone, it was just beautiful. And
it must be like summer camp for you after that good of a season, then going for a week of.
It was just no pressure. Just try these tricks that come up in your head, and you have the perfect park and the most unique features you've ever seen. And
dude, that nose dub 14 on the roller, holy shit,
butter thing.
Dude, if there's a slope run like the Olympics where you have that kind of feature and you can link something, holy shit.
That'd be nuts. I mean, that was essentially, Alex did that in his Olympic run. He did the switch 7 to like nose butter 5 out. And like mine was just like a 180 butter into that same trick, if you think about it. But yeah, it's hard to have the right feature to where you can like get enough butter bounce off the second part to do another cork. And like I didn't really have enough air like time on the one when I did it. That's why I kind of landed like back seat. But I tried it like 10 times and I couldn't get it any better. So I was like, ah. And I happened to try that on the last night of the like last session. I didn't start trying that trick until like 10 p.m. for some reason, like 9:30, 10 p.m. Just like I was like, oh, I gotta try it, and then I tried this earlier in the week, like when things weren't as melted out, and I was like fresher. But I'm stoked I at least got to go for it. And
how many days of skiing do you get when you're at Kimbo?
I think we got 7. It's okay, 7 or 8.
It's enough to be like completely burnt. I don't know if burned's the right way, but like tired as fuck.
Yeah, definitely tired and a little sore at the end. But I mean, you get like over 100 runs every day because T-bar just laps so quick. But yeah, I mean, it's always the highlight of the season to end like that. And I'm so grateful to Kim and everyone else involved, all the sponsors, all the chefs that like cook us lunch when we're up there, and like just the vibe is so good, and it's so good for the community. And you know, I wish everyone could experience that. You know, I just feel grateful I got invited like back when I did. Yeah, push. I mean, it's where you learn some crazy tricks for sure. That's where I definitely started like doing all these knuckle tricks and stuff. And then knuckle huck came about in X Games, and you know, brought some of the stuff I learned at Kimbo to that. I'm grateful for that too. You know.
Let's go into the Patreon questions. I got Will Cameron, who asks, what are some of the tricks he's seen or done that really surprised him that are possible?
That I've seen or done?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like a lot of these bring back tricks, like I've never done a bring back. So like, you know, that's crazy to me that you're able to stop rotation and like, you know, maybe your upper body's like forward, but you're going to put your feet and land backwards. Like, I mean, a lot of people are getting good at those. I've always been, you know, throwing a lot of respect at that. And I don't know, Vinny Gagne always did the craziest tricks. I'm like, what is he eating for breakfast? Like, and how the hell does he bend like that?
Yeah, when he did his switch cork threes, blunts, revert.
Yep. You know, he started doing those like way before anybody else. And then he'd do like his dub rodeos, screaming seaman, like grab, which was insane. And, you know, watching him do those dub rodeos definitely inspired me to like get better at them. Like if he can do it with a screaming seaman, like I should at least be able to do it with a normal grab, you know? And yeah, much respect to him for pushing the realm in that sense. And when I watched Henrik Harlow do the nosebud triple cork in 2013 at X Games, I was like, how is that even feasible? Like, how could anybody do that trick? It doesn't even seem real. And, you know, that trick held up for so long with nobody else doing it. And then more people started doing it. I remember Alex Hall, the first day he learned nosebud dub, he did a nosebud trip that day in Mammoth. I got a spring training camp. And that was like the only time he did it. He just like, yeah, one and done. Just so sick. And, you know, Andre Rigetti was doing it in his X Games run. And, you know, it wasn't getting the score he wanted, which was, you know, kind of funny, but sad for him. Because his rail run was not good enough. You know, it's like you can't do well if, you know, rails aren't risky too. But yeah, to come full circle, and then I learned that trick in my Olympic big air final. I learned nosebud dub at Dew Tour in 2022 because I won Dew Tour slopestyle the last time they did it, and I learned the nosebud dub 10 at that comp, and then. Yeah, it was later that year at the Olympics. I was like, I knew I could do the nosebud trip, but I was way too scared to try it in the training. So I just like left it. I just kept doing a bunch of nosebud dubs, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do it when it's time. And sure enough, I didn't land it perfect on my first go. And so then, you know, in the Olympic big air, you get 3 jumps to land 2 different tricks. And so I went nosebud trip, kind of over rotated, but I was like, oh, that wasn't too bad. Like I got that. So I went up and I stomped it the next run, and then was so stoked. Like I just couldn't believe it. It just worked. And then my last jump, which was my second trick, I was going to go like switched up 19 because I did that at X Games Big Air by accident the first time. And then I tried it actually in X Games Big Air on purpose, but I couldn't get a good grab in it. I was like going to go for that, even though I, had never done it really well. And my coach was like, yo, just dial it back, bro. Just go 18. Just grab your grab. And I was like, yep. Anyway, yeah. But then to share a podium with, Burke and then Henrik too, who did the nosebud trip, it was crazy.
Congrats on that again.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a good time.
Next question from Laurent Olivier Martin with a good little context. First of all, it's been amazing to see his progression over the years, how well-rounded and consistent the guy is in the park. I am wondering if there are any axes or tricks he just can't figure out. From the outside, it looks like he can do pretty much anything.
That's very, very kind of him to say. Yeah, funny enough, like I've only done like switch bios like a few times, like switch bio, like switch Misty 9, switch Misty 10. I've never been good at those. I've never done them to the right, like switch right Misty 9 or 10. So if you're ever playing me in a slush game, make sure you
switched
do that.
Up Misty.
Yeah, I've never done switched up Misty, anything like that. Yeah, so
are you planning on, or is that like a no?
I think like that is going to be one of the things I'm going to add in the next couple of years to my run, and see if I can get a dope grab in there, and kind of do it my unique way. Then I have that like Misty or bio axis in your run, and like that's a really valuable piece to have in a slopestyle run. Is like, I've been always just like doing all these corks and stuff, and I was stoked to add the double rodeo in there. But if I could get a switch bio in there, then I could do my my nosebud 16 and have a bio in the run.
Yeah, because that's the goal.
That's the goal.
Different grabs, different spins, different directions, but also different axes.
Yeah, you got to have the perfect recipe. That's the perfect recipe, is if you can combine all those things. And so I look forward to doing that. But yeah, my scariest single is definitely the right rodeo 9. I've only done that a couple times, and when you're coming around out of that trick, you do not feel like you're going to land on your feet. At least I was never that good at it, but definitely want to get better at that. I want like right road 9 blunt. That's definitely a goal of mine to have as a single trick. Which
Noah Wallace always impressed me with that, like having both side road 9s super clean.
Totally, yeah. Quinn Wolferman is always super good at it. He's got like right rodeo 10 and stuff.
Really?
Not a lot of people have that. I think he might even done right road 12, which is psycho. I mean, yeah, if you can get it down, it's dope. I want to get better at it. Yeah, good question.
Next up, Sam Chef asks, what's your favorite on-hill snack?
Ooh, that's a good question. I typically go with like some trail mix or like a power bar of some sort, whether it's like a pro bar or like I'm thinking, this year it was the fig bars. There's like these Nature's Bakery fig bars that I just has like a little bit of some grains and just like that, fig inside, like blueberry flavor, raspberry. Those were kind of like my go-to just snack, like right before a jump sesh or like right before the contest, just get a little boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't eat lunch typically until after I'm done like shredding hard. So I'll just like eat a huge breakfast, and that kind of like brings me through the day. And if I just need a little snack, I'll eat like, some gummies, or sometimes I'll use like goo, just like little goo that has caffeine in it. Kind
of what the road bikers do.
Yeah, and like Monster is pretty good, but like I only need to drink like a quarter of the can because I caffeine affects me a lot, and like if I drink too much caffeine when I'm already in like an anxious state, like it'll make me super anxious. And but mostly just eat a huge breakfast. hydrate well, and then a little fig bar, some snack to get you going when you need it.
Last one from Holden Baldassi. Who were his top 3 favorite skiers to watch growing up?
That's a great question. I said for many years that Antti Olila was my favorite skier, just because he was so well-rounded and had like these crazy tricks that no one else had. He's so good at spinning both ways and like insane on rails. And, he was like the first guy I remember coming out of Finland that was just like, what? Like, this guy is different,
Yeah. And kind of flying under the radar for a while.
Yeah. And when I was younger than that, even, it was Adam DeLorme. I used to watch his segments and just be so stoked seeing his butters and shit, and just the way he brought his own style into every feature he hit. Like, it was unlike anybody else. Like, he would just do this little trick, but it was so much flavor. It was like, what? Like, that was so ill. Like, his style was just unimaginable. And he actually was my coach the first time I went to Wendell's. He was my coach, and I was like freaking out because he was my favorite skier at the time too.
Did you tell him?
Yeah, I told him for sure. I was like, bro, you're my favorite. He's like, oh, I was just like, I was like 12 or something, dude.
Yeah.
And Brady Perrin was my coach the next year too. And, great friend now. And looking back on that's crazy. Like, those were, when my mind was the freshest at that age, and just taking an influence from like some of these very influential people in my life. It was really, really great. And, but yeah, Tanner Hall was always like a huge idol for me. And I have a vivid memory of when I was like 6 and Tanner had broke his ankles on Chad's Gap. And I remember running into him like at the canyons, like he was like just getting rolled around in his wheelchair. And I was just like this little kid, and I went up to him and was like, yo, dude, like, you're such a beast. Like, you're my idol. He was like fresh out of like ankle surgery like a few weeks
Still
before.
On morphine.
Yeah, exactly. He just totally messed up, and he's at this like tipping point of his life and like career, and like he just stayed strong like a lion and just beasted right through it, dude. Like,
yeah.
And that was, aside from his skiing and his, amazing impact he had with that, like, just his ability to come back from injury alone is like so inspiring and something to totally, take after. And, you never give up. This is, like he said, like, it's like taking medicine away from a dying person, man. If we can't ski, it's like, that's that drug. Like, I need that adrenaline. I need to be able to push myself and express myself artistically, like, through skiing. And
dude, that segment is so epic when you say that. I have the image of him in the skate park yelling it.
So sick, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legendary. So top 3 would be Tanner, Adam, and Antti.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And like, obviously Sammy came to mind right when you said that too. And like, he had a huge influence on me growing up. And he invited me to Sammy C Invitational, the second edition. And I was like, shit, how old was I? Like 16 or something. And with Willie Borm, we were the only 2 young guys there. Like, and that was so dope to be a part of. And I think that's when Henrik did the first like nosebud dub off the knuck. And it was like, what? He did it off a knuckle? Like, no way. Like, we didn't think that was possible. And just that wall ride session. It was like the curve wall ride.
Yeah.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah, that was crazy. He did the nosebud dub 10 in 2011. Yeah. And that was 2012. He was like, okay, I'll do it on the knuckle. And then the year after that, okay, triple.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, once you unlock it and you can get good pop, it throws you into like I would almost argue you could do a nosebud triple on a smaller jump than you could do just a regular triple if you got the pop right, considering you took off perfectly, because it kind of springs you into like
helps you flip
faster. Yeah, it flips you faster. I don't know for sure. I'm not going to test it
on a small baby booter.
But yeah, there's so many influential skiers, man. It's like, it's hard to just like pick 3 even. I loved watching everyone. And I wouldn't say there was anyone I tried to like ski like, you know, I just was like inspired by their ability to do what they did. And then I kind of just paved my own way and just started learning tricks, you know, one by one, just checking them off the list.
Thank you for coming on, Colby. Awesome chatting with you.
Yeah,
super interesting stuff. I think people are going to be stoked on the episode.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people get to listen. And, you know, I always love talking about skiing.
Hope the recovery goes well for you. Hope the comeback goes well in Lax and X Games.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, that'd be dope. I know it's sick to have like that, my sights set on that so far out. And I'm going to get as healthy as I ever been this summer, you know, just holding it down, working out a bunch. Going to be road biking in a couple months, which I'm looking forward to once my shoulder's good enough. And yeah, just slow things down a bit. You know, I moved into my place last year, and so just getting organized here. And got my girlfriend who just moved in, which is pretty dope. And yeah, we're excited, man. I'm just excited to get this Good Company segment all edited up with AJ DeCoulis. He's been great to work with from Good Company. Yeah, Crescendo, dude. We're going to premiere it. I'm just excited to see it all come together and premiere it and go around and see what everyone else did this season.
Yeah.
It's going to be sick. Yeah, we're going to Annecy to the High Five Festival in end of September.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the first time we'll premiere it, but it might be. Just premiering it. And I'm most excited for the local premiere here in Utah, like get all my homies in there and just have a big celebration because like we put a lot of blood, sweat, and soul into that, you know, like put everything we had into it. My roommate, Jack Francis, bought a camera beginning of the season and with like almost no film experience, but he's like really good snowmobiler, great skier, been a long time friend. We just, you know, him and I stacked. It was dope.
Sick. Looking forward to that.
Hell yeah.
Well, thanks again, Colby.
Yeah, man, for sure. Good chat.
Peace.
Peace.
So this is it for episode 42 with Colby Stevenson. Big thanks to the sponsors once again, K2 Skis, Planks Clothing, Dick Hands Restaurants, and Axis Board Shop. Also big thanks to the patrons on Patreon. If you want to join, check it out at patreon.com/the Meran Podcast. Peace.